Thank you so much for coming tonight to see our presentations. My name is AnnieLaura Guimond, and I'm excited to share with you some of the things that I've gained through the MPA program at College of Charleston. But first, I want to give a little bit of background on me, and I'll start by talking about my mom. She is my foundation for my philosophy and ethics, and she's a big talker. She talks a lot with her children, and she's always reaffirmed that for as much as we learn from her, she learns from us. And my parents were both lobbyists, so they did advocacy work. And so policy, process, procedure, these are things that we talked about all the time in our household. My parents taught me and my brother to question pretty much everything. Definitely authority figures and rules for sure. And I think that's what lended itself to me being so moved by collective movements and sites of struggle. And so I can remember being a senior in high school, we were in an English class rereading the letter from Birmingham jail by Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. And it struck me that he was juxtaposing the white moderate with the KKK. And I thought, well, that's, if you do act in a way that's passive in that devotion to order, that meant perpetuating oppression, and that was barriers to access and equality. And I did not want to do that in life, and so I've always been moved by disruptive advocates, whether that be disabled activists who are occupying government buildings to make sure that laws are signed to make sure disability rights are, they have teeth to them, or whether it's natives who are fighting for sovereignty, or Black Panther affiliates who are administering acupuncture protocols to people in New York City who are going through heroin addiction without public health officials around them. But it didn't really matter what people were going through, sexism, classism. I knew that there was this big umbrella, and it was what was conceptualized as normal, and then if you deviated from it, oppression would be occurring, and that did not sit well with me. So how does that translate into working at an institutional level, you might be asking? And after doing a lot of reflecting, especially in the last few months of this capstone, what I've noticed is a commonality between me and people in public, or who are motivated by public service. And the commonality is that we care. We care really deeply about fundamentally necessary, important things that are like infrastructure and things that maybe people think are boring to begin with, but if you explain it and you're passionate enough about it, they'll get it, And so that is me and my brother, somebody who I deeply care about in this world. But people who are motivated by public service, we care about how parks are designed. Are we gonna put movable furniture at the park? Is there gonna be a water feature? Can kids play in it? Is it gonna be accessible to people? Are we going to create room for gentrification? How do we protect people from that? We care about wording of zoning codes. So if we tweak this little thing, what is it going to incentivize and what is it going to discourage? We care about streamlining of services. So I've been very excited to show somebody a website where they can just put their zip code in and find a polling location. I think that we get excited even more when it's community member to community member engagement, and that's what we can spill out into our world, right? And we care about censorship. So how do we define what we're researching? Who is affected by the way that we're legally allowed to talk about certain topics as public officials or people in the public service sector? What are we using as performance measures? How do we frame our asks to congressional staffers? So the work is mysterious and important and vast and interdisciplinary, as we've noted through the program time and time again. So I think the challenge that we face is advancing that public service perspective and making sure that the people on the ground level understand the meaning, and we're translating that effectiveness and that efficiency and that equity. And I think that involves obviously community engagement, which I'm very passionate about. So Elizabeth Lino, she's a professor at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, and she basically said in a podcast very recently, what if we made government work visible to people? Would they be so inclined to cut programs if they knew how it affected them? And while I agree with that sentiment, I also think that determining public value means listening to people and practicing how to pivot when evidence shows you that old paradigms are fading and we need to shift into something new. So we have to be very adaptable as public service professionals. And I think what this program has given me is formal, structured frameworks through which I can channel my passion for autonomy, democracy, active representation, equitable outcomes. There's a lot of things I've been passionate about, but I think that's been great, so thank you.